All right. So great, Cecilia. So you've just been telling everybody that this is harder than you thought it would be. Just say a little bit more about that as we gently move into your experiments.
Well, because what I picked to work on, my first thing, is something that I think I've been doing my whole life. So to expect myself to do better at not doing that in just a week or two is probably unrealistic. But I'm super ambitious, so I thought I could try. But like everyone said, now that I think about it, I am at least recognizing that thing happening before it actually happens. So that's kind of cool, but it's also kind of frustrating because I'm like, oh, but I gotta do it. So I've been having to work really hard at self-restraint.
All right. Well, then this is great. So tell us, because I think Cecilia might be, and Chrissy was talking a minute ago, she might be making a bit of an error, which I want to point out. So it's going to be helpful to everybody. What I'm going to do is share the screen as well, just for a minute. Pull up Cecilia's biz improvement goal. So Cecilia and I talked the other day, and it came down to this. Tell us a bit about your improvement goal, Cecilia.
Yeah, so when we did this workshop at NAPSA, I realized that I wanted to work on improving my ability to just kind of stand back and not take the lead or the charge on things as much, trust my team, whether it be my team at work or my family, to take the lead and take control of situations. And then Tom pushed us to define it even further. So what I concluded was that I wanted to let go of the need to control and have more trust and patience.
That's great. So beautiful goal. I want to trust people more, and that means letting go of my control. And we try and put it into the positive. It's better to say I want to stop controlling. It's rather I want to start trusting. It's much more better if you go with the positive. So then we had the doing or not doing. Tell us a little bit about your doing or not doing, Cecilia.
Yeah, so anytime a discussion comes up, whether at work or at home, I generally just right away take the lead and I take charge and I start to kind of control the situation. I always thought it was problem solving, but it might be more control than problem solving. So I feel like I need to give my thoughts, my opinions. I do find myself mentally at least being a little critical of other people's thoughts, which I don't want to do. I don't mean to do that. I think that comes from a certain place. But I want to celebrate more wins. So those are the things I'm not doing is I'm not focusing on the wins or the positives from others. I don't do well at staying quiet, which is funny that you picked me to talk the most today. It's kind of counterintuitive, but um yeah. Do I need to read the list or is that good?
That's plenty. So
Okay.
here's the key. In this column, in the second column, the doing or the not doing, we want to move beyond that column. But so some people, when they do this process, they want to change column two, but the focus is on column four. So we're not actually trying to change our the way we operate. We're just trying to change our immune system. So you don't want to go back into, oh, I'm going to change those things in number two. You just let number two stay what it is, because the important thing about number two is the worries and fears behind it. So tell us about your worries and fears if you were to change these behaviors.
My worries would be that things wouldn't progress. We'd get kind of stuck or stay stagnant. Things wouldn't move forward. Um, and I guess like we talked about my family in particular, I think that if I don't take the lead or take control of situations, then I may fail or something may fail. And then inevitably my children may fail because they're not progressing and learning, and able to succeed. So.
And you see here, there was this other thing. I will be a failure was critical for Cecilia. There was also this thing about I'll be overlooked. Remember that one, Cecilia? And what I noticed about Cecilia's map is she didn't have too much feeling in there. So I don't know if this is okay with you, Cecilia, but I added I will feel unsafe. Does
Okay.
that ring a bell? And I will feel insignificant, being
Yeah.
overlooked, feel insignificant. You see, we just want to catch the emotional tone about it. So not only do you have these fears, then you're committed to not feeling insignificant or safe, or not being overlooked, not being a failure. They're all great commitments, right? So they make complete sense. So then we went into this big assumption, and we're just going to focus on the first one that Cecilia identified. So tell us about this, Cecilia.
So I have this maybe bad habit, I don't know, of like overly asking what my family wants to eat. So I have a family of five. I have my husband and then I have three kids. And I've just I don't know why, but I'm usually the cook. So when I'm getting ready to make dinner, I'm like, okay, what does everybody want to eat? And then it's always been a struggle because there's five of us and everybody wants something different. And so I always get stressed out, but I'm like, what? So I am that mom, unfortunately, that tends to make more than one meal at dinner or make modifications to the meal for certain children. And so we talked about me trying out making a decision without asking everyone what they wanted to eat. So initially the plan was to cook something, but we were out and about this weekend, so I just made a decision to eat out somewhere. Um, and that was challenging. But that was my assumption was that if I don't ask everyone what they want, or I guess my assumption is if I don't do things for the kids, then I'll be overlooked and be a failure. And my kids won't progress in life and they'll also be failures. And I will feel unsafe and insignificant.
Catch that. So that's the assumption now we're going to catch. Beautiful assumption. If I don't do things for my kids, I'll be overlooked and I'll be a failure. My kids will not progress in life and they will be failures, and I'll feel unsafe and insignificant. So the experiment was very simple. I'm going to go home and just cook a meal for them, not ask them, because it drives them crazy when you ask them, right? Your kids get mad at you for asking, Mom, they don't want. So that was
Figure
the
it out.
simple experiment. So let's track then the data. Now we want to just get the data here. So tell us the data, Cecilia. What happened? So you decided you didn't do that experiment. So you're looking before, after, during, and after the experiment. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, so before the experiment, well, I was just thinking, I don't think I'm going to have an opportunity to cook a meal this weekend. So how do I still do this? And then I knew we were going to go out to eat at some point, usually on Sundays after church. So I was like, that's always a struggle because we always have to figure out what everybody wants. So then I use that as the opportunity to just decide where we're going. I was really nervous about it and I was extremely uneasy. My stomach was even kind of in knots. I was just nervous because I didn't want it to fail. I didn't want it to be a place that didn't work out for everyone. So that's how I was feeling before.
You noticed that high level of anxiety there before.
Hmm.
Gosh, I'm going to do this, and this is really scary.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
And then I picked a spot and it started, they started looking at the menu and I had one out of the five that was not happy with what was on the menu. And so I started wanting to fix that and make an exception. Like, well, maybe we can I was going to change where we were going to go. And I was like, no, I'm going to stick with it. And luckily it was the older of the three kids. So usually she can figure it out on her own. But I was getting really worried that she wasn't going to eat anything because she kept making comments about not liking anything on the menu. So I was trying not to fix the problem for her, but wanted to.
So the anxiety increased then, but you made the decision, and you said we're
Mhm.
going to X restaurant. Is that what happened?
Yes.
How did people respond? What did they do when you said that?
Well, they started thinking about it, and then, like I said, they wanted to look at the menu to see what was offered, if they to decide if they were going to like anything there or not.
Okay, this is before you went.
Yeah, this was on our way.
Okay, so on the way. So you're on the way. People are looking. One girl, or I think it's your oldest girl, didn't like it. Didn't like the menu. The others, what were the others saying?
They were being optimistic. My little one was like, "Oh, I'll just get this," and my son was like super excited because it was a brunch place and he likes breakfast. So he was like, "I want everything on the menu." So,
Okay. All right. And then you're going. All right. So then you get to the restaurant. That's what's going. Then what happened?
well, then we have to wait for a table. So there's a longer period of that nervousness happening because I'm like, just let's just get in there and eat. And so the longer we had to wait, the more they were looking at the menu, the more my oldest was saying she couldn't find anything she liked, the more I wanted to solve the problem. And it was getting really stressful. And then we finally got sat. Well, they finally landed on one thing they were all going to order. And then I've trained them apparently to have a backup plan. So if they pick a meal or a drink and they don't have it or can't make it the way they want, then they have a backup plan. So they were all working on their first choice and then their backup choice.
Oh,
Um, yeah, they did that on their own. I didn't tell them.
wow.
And then we had to order.
Okay, so they all kick into gear, they all do their thing. They get well, not only one choice, but a backup plan. They're all sinking, everybody's sinking in at this stage. But the nervousness is still there, really strong.
Uh-huh.
And you're holding yourself back, but it's kind of working, you're getting there. All right, so then what happened? Then the food comes, what happens?
It was awful.
Okay, food is all great. Okay, tell us more.
I don't know what we ate. It was like fancy, I don't know. It was like this breakfast place that's new, so a lot of people are going there. And I think they hype up the fancy plates more than the actual taste of the food because it was not good. And it was extremely overpriced. So during the meal, I was super unsatisfied with my meal, but I was going to eat it because we're paying for it. I had to work with through my son, the one that was the most excited about the place, because he got something he was super happy about. And then when it came out, I guess it had like a jam or a syrup on it as like decoration, but he was disgusted by it. So he was about to cry at the table because he was so frustrated. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I told him, I said, well, you're gonna have to let them know that you want it without the syrup. And he was just like, no, like not having it. He wasn't going to speak up for himself. And again, I wanted to solve the problem. I wanted to ask the waitress if she could fix his plate, but I didn't. I said, either you speak up and you get it the way you want it, or you eat what you have in front of you, or you don't eat. And so he was really mad. So he was trying to contain his frustration and anger. And we were trying to pretend like he wasn't acting ridiculous in a restaurant. My little one was perfectly happy with her burger because all she got was a plain burger. And the older one got a sandwich that she also didn't like, but she was being extremely optimistic. She's like, I'll just pick this out and eat that, or I'll just eat this. Or she wasn't complaining or throwing a tantrum, I think, because my middle one was throwing a big enough one for everyone. And then the waitress came, and my husband actually spoke up and asked her if she could fix his plate without the syrup, which was really shocking because he's not a confrontational person, but he did it. And they brought it out, and then my son was extremely happy with his food.
Wow, wow. All right, so then that's what happened. So then after, what happened after?
We paid very begrudgingly, gave over our card. I was so unhappy with how much we spent there. And when we left, we all agreed we would never go back to that place again. But my oldest did make a comment on the way out. She was like, well, she's like, you have to try things to know if you like them or not. So we know now we don't like it. And I was like, oh, that was a really positive way to look at it. So that was cool.
What's going on then in you? What are you noticing in you? You're telling us a lot about what's going on with the family. What are you noticing in you during the experiment and
that
afterwards?
that it was hard for me not to problem solve for them. It was really difficult not to find a solution for my son's food, to help my oldest figure out what she was going to eat. My husband made a few under his breath comments that I just kind of ignored. um, Asked the waitress for, other things. Like it was hard for me not to control the whole situation and solve any of the problems that were arising. But by not doing it, it showed me that they can do it. They can problem solve on it may take them a little while, but they can figure it out. And ultimately, it kind of turned into a funny thing. Like we all just kind of laughed and were like, that was horrible. It was a horrible experience. So it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
It's something you're all going to remember.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
And if anyone wants to know the name of the restaurant, I'm happy to share so you can avoid it at all costs.
So then, huge amount of learning. There's this intense feeling to control everything, right?
hmm
In the end, it's gone. You're happy with, oh, we all pulled through. So you're not feeling that at the end, right? You're feeling, oh my God, well, this was kind of a different experience. It cost us a little bit, but probably, it was a different experience. You're
Yeah.
sh- you're shocked. You were shocked. Your husband speaks up. Your oldest daughter rewrites herself, and she's the one who gets the wisdom after the end, after the way she started. All these things are
Yeah.
going on. All right. So now what we want to do is that's the data, everybody. right? That's the data. You can just see, you can observe all of this. You could see all of this happening. This is what's happening. So now what we want to do is take that and apply it to Cecilia's assumption. So Cecilia, tell us about if you don't do things for your kids, you were brilliant, right? I will be overlooked and be a failure. Was there any data on being overlooked?
Mm, I don't know, actually. I mean, I guess if I think of it like the kids clearly have learned problem solving skills on their own. I mean, like having a backup meal. I showed them that at some point, but they held on to that and they were able to use that as a way to do what they needed to get what they needed done. I feel like that made me feel not overlooked, like they're listening and they're learning from us, right? From what we're teaching them. Um, and yeah, I don't know what else I could say about being overlooked.
Well, it
I
doesn't
mean,
really,
they were still looking to me, honestly, the whole time to solve the problems. They were kind of like expecting me to, but I didn't. So then they figured it out on their own.
and then you were very engaged the whole time. They didn't exclude you or anything like that. So
Right.
how about being a failure for your kids?
Oh, I wasn't. I
What
didn't fail this one. I thought I was going to because I picked a nasty restaurant to eat at, but
you thought you
I
were.
don't think so.
Well, what about this one? My kids will not progress in life and they will also be failures. Any data on that?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that my oldest was able to look at the situation in a positive light and take something, a learning lesson from it. My husband was able to speak up for my son. I think that was data to me that they can progress on their own in life, in making decisions and problem solving. Um, and they're not failures.
So at least in this case, yeah, this did not suit. And how about this? Did you feel insignificant and unsafe?
I didn't feel insignificant at all. In fact, I still felt very significant. Um, Unsafe, I don't know. I didn't feel unsafe.
Didn't feel unsafe. You kind of felt anxious, right? But I think that's a sign that how strong this assumption is in you.
Yeah.
Were out of your comfort zone, right? The minute you stepped out of your comfort zone, there was this fear. I mean, and this is what the judges and the pretrial people who are making new decisions, they feel when we're asking them to make new decisions, they feel like this, oh my God, this is going to be horrible, right? So this is what's going on. But okay, good. You didn't feel unsafe. All right. So then what we want to do is apply that assumption. Let's go down. Let's see if we can do this. Um, uh, Oh, it's not happening for me. Why is that happening? Okay, so let's go down. Let's go. So the data does not hold up to the assumption, right?
Right.
So what might be an alternative assumption, Cecilia, given the data, right? So your assumption was if if I don't do things for my kids, I'll be overlooked and be a failure. My kids will not progress in life, etc., etc. I'll feel unsafe and insignificant. So if I don't do things for my kids, what's the data say? What's the data say?
Be fine.
The kids will be fine. And what else?
I think that like the opposite, they'll probably progress more because they're having to problem solve on their own and not depending on me or their dad to fix things.
Yeah, so that's the assumption that you want to write down because I noticed the alternative assumption you did, you were kind of thinking other things. You want to write that down. If I don't do some things for my kids, they're going to progress more. They're going to be
Mhm.
fine. My husband is going to come into his own. He's going to speak up what I've always wanted him to do. See,
Where do I put that in here, Tom? Is there a spot to put it in
this
on
is
the sprint?
you go down below. Oh, I know where it is. Here now. Okay, I'll show you here. This is great. I was in the wrong column. You see here, here's the experiment I will do. We did that. This is the assumption we're testing. Data I will collect, debriefing the experiments, what happens to data. We just went through all of that. Now, here, the alternative interpretation. You see what Cecilia wrote? She wrote, I create the need for dependency. I create my own worries and anxieties. That's probably true, but what we want is the alternative interpretation here. So if I don't do things for my kids, then yeah. But she's putting that in there, I think.
Yeah, I'm typing it.
Let's see. You see, that's the crucial thing, folks, is so you're taking your assumption, you're getting data on it, and then you need to replace it with a different assumption. And that's the assumption. Then you can do even begin to test that out and to do that more. So the next step for Cecilia would be to do a new experiment, right? And Cecilia, I have a suggestion for your new experiment.
Okay.
You want to keep it simple. If you want to go back to that one, just one day I'm going to cook a meal for my kids and I'm not going to ask them what they want. That's it. Does that sound like, or do you have a different idea in your mind for the next experiment?
No, I can try that one.
Okay, so just try that one. Keep it simple. You see what it is? And it's again, when we do the experiments, we're not doing them to change our column twos. Chrissy, we're not doing it so that we get that project that we should be working on done. We're doing it to test the assumptions all the time. So the crucial thing is this is not about taking on projects. It's about taking on very, very small, simple experiments. So you get data, so your mind begins to think in a different way and in a way that's more consonant with the facts. It's more true, basically. All right, let's stop there.